Hello, all you hardcores. We're joined by Dan from Solihull. How are you doing, Dan?
Oh, Ross, great to be back on, mate. Hope you're well.
Well, what are you on with?
Just went for a run this morning with my mum. Had a coffee.
You know
And
what?
yeah,
I've just done a run now, and I'm drinking an Nescafe Azura coffee, Americano.
oh, great minds, mate.
I'm gonna after I've done with you in half an hour. I'm gonna have some cherry tomatoes on toast, brown bread.
Yeah.
I keep looking at all this chocolate people keep giving me, and beer and Baileys, and we
Oh,
got
no.
6p. You try to batten me up, pot kill.
Well, it's the time of year. I think alcohol and confectionery is plentiful, isn't it? My work gave me enough when I just broke up now, but I think it's just the time of year, isn't it? I think it's normal for people to just be indulging, isn't it?
Well, this time last year, I got weighed on January 1st, 180 pounds. My mate,
Hmm.
you'll not knock that off now. You've had your fluid took out your gastric man. I said, you watch. I've just jumped on now, 155. So
It's good.
keep it off. But I remember Julian saying something to me, who used to come on channel, and he said,
Yeah, I remember it.
took about £20 off or something. So how you done that, like? And he just said, no, I've just been eating my normal meals, but he'd cut all rubbish out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's all it sometimes takes, particularly if you have an active lifestyle anyway.
Mm. So, but I'm always bouncing about and I'm always burning calories off.
Yeah,
But
you're always walking the dogs, aren't you, mate?
yeah, yeah, dog
Uh,
when I can go get them, or I like to go for a run and that. I can't complete what I do. I do 4 point. This route I do is 4.4 mile, but I can't do it without stopping about 6 or 7 times. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's because I'm knocking on a bit.
well, no, I think I mean, getting out there and getting it done, I think is the most important
Yeah,
thing, rather than yeah. So I'd say bet something is better than nothing. It doesn't really matter if you're having to take short pauses. It does it really.
yeah. I see where you're coming from, Dan. Uh, what's Father Christmas fetched you?
Um, to be honest with you, mate, as I've got older, I'm slightly less fussed about gifts and so on. I would actually say it's more the scram for me at this stage.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going round helping peeling the veg actually. So I'm earning my keep for tomorrow. I think my mum's putting something of a spread on. So
Go on, lads. They all like
yeah,
down your way, don't they, Solihull?
yeah, definitely.
My cousin's husband, I've known him since I was 12. He
Mm,
I went to see him yesterday with some Christmas presents. Yeah, I've got something for you. He says, what? He got me
yeah.
he ordered something for my uncle's car. Wrong part come, but it fits my car. It's
Ah,
them wind deflectors, you know what you fit onto your windows?
yes, I know what you mean.
I don't know what is it something to do with aerodynamics, all that knackers. I said, oh, it'll pimp my ride job, innit? Anyway, we whacked them up. Look all right.
Remember watching that on MTV back in the day? I don't know if they're still doing it anymore, do they?
Remember when Bez from Happy Mondays had his taxi pimped?
Happy Monday. I can't claim to watch too much of it, to be honest. So it might be slightly
Bez from
before my
Happy
time.
Mondays. Remember Happy Mondays?
I remember the show. Yeah, I haven't watched much of it though, if I'm
No, it's
honest.
not a show, it's a band.
Oh, a band. Sorry, beg your pardon. I
Lone
don't
Rider
know.
at least.
Well, there you go. Then that shows how limited my
And
knowledge is
he
on the
was it,
topic.
wasn't it, Bez? We shaking something, twisting my melon, man. Well, he had a taxi. He used to burn around Manchester in this taxi. And I remember him pimping it. And he actually got pulled in his taxi out of his brains by a year later. By this stage, it was all decrepit and knackered and that. It looked like he'd been living in it. But I was a massive fan of that Pimp My Ride. I think Exhibit used to do it, didn't he, on one of them?
Yeah, yeah. The hip hop artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might have been American Pimp My Ride, but I was into all that back in there. But yeah, so I'm all wind deflected up.
Well, I remember Scrap Heap Challenge. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember I used to watch all them, me. I watch all them.
Yeah. I think Scrap Heap Challenge is still on Dive. I might be wrong, but yeah.
I used to be.
Happy Mondays. I mean, I thought that was a band.
Oh, oh.
There you go. Show
Right,
myself up now on Zoom.
yeah, right. What do you think about the Saudi show? What did you think of it? And then I'll fire a few questions at you. We'll make it funny.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I watched all of it from start to finish. I didn't know too much about the earlier fights, to be honest, with Daniel Lappin, and I can't remember who he was in with. In fact, I think that's one of Usyk's charges. He's done quite a lot in the amateur circuit, and I don't know how many wins he's got as a pro now, but he looks to be quite a good counter puncher. I can't remember the fight that was after that.
Who was the
First fight
champion?
that
Moses Atome.
yeah, that Daniel Lappin.
Oh yeah,
I
sorry.
think Usyk rates him. I don't know whether he's with the same management team, but yeah, he looked quite promising, and I think he's young and he's probably going to come through at some stage. But yeah, my knowledge is somewhat sort of restricted on. I don't know too much about him really, but he looked good. There was another fight in between before Peter McGrail and Reece Edwards, but again, memories. I'm struggling as to who that was, to be fair. But the Peter McGrail Reece Edwards fight was good. I thought that was quite competitive, engaging. Both had spells in both, where they looked good. I thought McGrail just edged it actually, but Reece Edwards has nothing to be ashamed of. I thought it was a well fought fight, and it was a close contest. And then thereafter, I think the main talking point for me of the evening would be Dave Allen versus Johnny Fisher.
Yeah. Obviously, I used to live on the same street as David, or you lived on the same street as, and I think he was 62, I was 76.
Mm,
I've known David Allen, 10 year. Uh,
yeah,
got ability. He's a
I
tough,
think so.
he's a tough kid. He's got ability, but he's got wrong mindset. I mean, you even see in interviews now where, yeah, I'm going to have a blowout and eat loads of food. Why doesn't he just go train over Christmas and get back into the right mindset? He's got an opportunity here to do well. He just wants
Mm,
to get by, doesn't he? He don't want to go above and beyond, like a real champion. And I think it's a shame because he's got the beating of Elmer Fudd, hasn't he?
yeah. Well, I mean I messaged you on WhatsApp whilst it was on, I believe, and for me, I actually had Dave Allen winning by about 2 or 3 rounds,
Yeah.
factoring in the 10-8. Um, I thought Johnny Fisher, in fairness, he showed a bit of resilience in there because for me, he was getting bashed up in the second half of the fight. He was getting walloped about. And I think after the 10-8 round, I'm not sure he fully recovered, to be perfectly honest. He looked like he was kind of fighting on instinct, if anything else. And I actually think Dave Allen's got an underrated jab. It's a bit of a ramrod when you see him put it together. I think he was saying in after the fight, he'd had like he got fit for about 10 weeks, and you could see he had some sort of punch out, but he was throwing more than what he did in the Fraser Clark fight. But as you've also said in the recent video you've put up, I don't think he was as fit as he could have been either. I think if he was slightly more conditioned and you know, as you've said, if he was sort of living life outside of training a bit better and sort of it was a general kind of he was living the life better. I think he would have almost certainly got him out of there. Um, Johnny Fisher for me, I think he's quite limited to be honest, in the sense of professional boxing. Um, I think Mark Tibbs has improved him. I think he's got a decent right hand, but it almost looked like he wasn't in punching distance a lot of the time. Like he wasn't fully landing on Dave Allen, and whether that was to do with Allen's experience in terms of knowing and reading when the right hand was going to go and sort of stepping out or catching it on the gloves. I think after he kind of sort of mounted some resistance to what Johnny Fisher was doing, I think Fisher kind of didn't want to know, and he was almost found wanting. But we'll have to see in terms of where he goes next because Dave Allen has had a lot of tough fights. He's been,
Yeah.
he's been beaten by. I think the worst one for me, I think, was actually not Lewis Ortiz, but David Price. I
Yeah.
thought David Price really knocked him about when I watched that fight. But he should never have been in with Lewis Ortiz when he was 9-1 anyway. And I don't think he got paid terribly well for that, did he?
12 grand.
That's shocking, and particularly when that was at a time where everyone was avoiding Lewis Ortiz as well,
He
wasn't
were WBA interim champion, but the belt went on the line and he were number one ranked. One, they all said they were going to fight Joshua, didn't they?
he? Yeah. And he was signed to Matchroom for a number of fights, wasn't he? I almost feel like that's to kind of keep him away from
Signed him
AJ, to be honest.
to keep Joshua away from him, didn't they? That's why they did it.
Yeah, that's what I would agree there. But yeah, I was really gutted for Dave, to be honest. I was hoping they were gonna give him the win, but I think Shane McGuigan on the Sky commentary, because he was I don't think he's a regular pundit for them, but he was sat with Matthew Macklin and Andy Clark, and I think he came out and said, I'm paraphrasing here, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he said something along the lines of, the decision's been favoured in the eyes of the person who sells the most tickets and is the bigger draw.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't fault that, and I had to say I commended him for coming out with that, because that's quite, that's quite an on the nose opinion, and you almost have to watch what you say sometimes. But
Well,
he,
no,
he, he
no, I don't agree with that because now Eddie's not the number one dog, is he? He's not the
yeah,
most
true,
like an
true,
brick top, is he, really? And there's a
no,
bit of friction there. McGuigan's are
yeah,
not big Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn fans. You see where I'm coming from? And Macklin will never be because they're Sky, aren't they? And Macklin's MTK. Do you know what I mean? They won't
yeah,
be
no,
about Bricktop, I can assure you.
yeah, no. That makes sense actually when you put it like that. I think though it was good to hear anyway, because that's kind of how I felt about the situation personally after having watched it. Um, and then obviously I think following on from that, I mean, I wonder whether or not they'll do an immediate rematch, because I think Johnny Fisher needs a bit more fine tuning before he goes back in there again.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I don't know. He just looked very raw, and I think he was going up against somebody who had 32 career fights. He's seen the worst of boxing, um, and he's been in with a lot of high level operators. And given the fact that Dave is actually only 32 as well, he's not completely shot to
Ah,
bits, I would say.
30.
Mm,
What this is my take on it, right?
yeah,
They're going to try and build the rematch up. We've already had the fat dad on and the gad
I
going.
saw
No, that's fake beef, right? That is
that. Mm,
fake beef. What they're doing, they're trying to build the rematch. They're not going to take it straight away. They're going to hope that Dave Allen loses interest, then comes back to the table, fat as a pig, being inactive, this and that. They'll get him at the right time, a bit more miles on clock. They'll build it up and they'll get him then. They're not going to jump straight back in because he's got a lot to learn, young Fisher, old Elmer. And Mark Tibbs and his dad, Jimmy Tibbs, are going to have the work cut out with him. You know what I mean?
mm,
Because he's not been fetched up with boxing, has he? He's learning on job kind of thing. He does tickets, yeah, but they've lifted his leg with decision, but they're not going to take that straight away. Plus, they're going to want at least another couple of paydays because they make a lot on tickets. Then they'll want more paydays before they do throw him in with Dave Allen. Because if he goes in with Dave Allen next and loses, it's game over. All them casuals that follow him around, they'll think they've been sold a dud, won't they?
I think they're riding the crest of the wave with just how popular he is at the moment. I mean, yeah, I thought defensively he was quite leaky when I was watching from the armchair. It just kind of seemed like he was taking a lot, and also I don't think he's not really had any sort of resistance mounted against him in any of the fights previous to when he got in with Dave Allen either. So I think it was a bit of a shock for him, really, having somebody in front of him who was actually gonna engage with him and fight back. Um, yeah, I mean they've got to be careful, and they've got to obviously prevent his commerciality from sort of, no longer selling tickets, really, no longer being a commodity for Matchroom. So, yeah, I'm sure that'll be in mind. I think he needs like maybe one or two before the Dave Allen rematch.
What
But
they do right now is they're going to have to see what Joshua's doing because he props their shows up him, so they're not going to want to go near Dave Allen straight away.
no, I don't think so
They're
either.
going to want Dave to have miles on clock, bit of weight on, bit of inactivity, and they'll get him down. They're not going straight for him. They'll go around the outside like Jim McDonald did with Barry McGuigan. Barry McGuigan were knocking everybody out. They didn't want to fight Barry McGuigan when they were knocking them all out. They waited till they had miles on clock. They went round the outside and they got him at the right time. That's what they'll do with David Allen, which is a shame for David because he'll be itching to get in there and get a payday. They're not
Yeah.
going to risk a ticket seller that does that many tickets. He can sell out Copper Box. You know, with 5,000-6,000 tickets, that's a big chunk. That if you're doing O2, you need that Elmer to sell the tickets because all the others don't do tickets that Eddie's got. That's his ticket seller. He's like his mini Ricky Hatton. See where I'm coming from?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll be a business decision, I think. But I would say again, the recent video you uploaded about the pair of them and that fight, I think they both deserve paying because I thought that was entertaining. To be honest, I did enjoy watching it. They both want paying definitely, and it'd be nice for Dave to get another decent purse.
But
Um,
the old man Fisher, seen him on a billboard, you know, on M1 near Tib Shelf Services, laid on the settee in his underpants and nothing else on, and whatever sponsor underneath. I thought he's on billboards. This guy's trying to be me.
yeah, he's eating off your plate, Russ.
I know, yeah. Well, Alan is, isn't he, on YouTube? But no, the point I want to make is that with the Gad and Johnny Fisher Bosch Senior. That's just bullshit. You're in his house of the week eating a Cantonese meal. So look, that's just to sell it, but they're not going to go straight away. But the Gad did speak from the heart, and I'll back the Gad. I don't normally back him, but him and Spencer Oliver, Jug ears, they got it right. Dave Allen won the fight. They were lucky. They got the decision. They should fight next, but they're not going to do it, but they'll build it up.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to risk him again because, like I said, there'll be people that are saying, "No, he ain't that good." So that 6,000 might be 4,000 now. Them tickets. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
It's about business. I remember arguments I used to have with Dennis, this and that, blah blah blah, about fights, and he said, "Yeah, but he does tickets, and it's all about who does tickets." But with that fighter, Dennis said, I've got a picture on here somewhere. Perry Howe, Perry the Promise Howe, couldn't box Easter eggs. But he were a bin man. He were a bin man, right? But he were a bin man lorry driver, whatever. You know him will drive bin wagons.
Yeah.
And he were in army as a lorry driver or something. So he had all army mates coming to shows. And Dennis would be like, "We've got to keep him sweet. He's popping our shows up." And I would say, "He's pony." And every trainer that were working with fighters would say, "Dennis, what's he on your show for? He's absolute garbage from white collar." But he were propping shows up in Sheffield, so you're not going to want to rock the boat. And Eddie's got the same problem with Fisher, aka Elmer Fudd. Do you know?
Yeah. I think also that anyone who, at any level who gets in there deserves respect as well, though, to be honest, because it is tough. But I understand in terms of what you're saying there, whereby you've got the very talented amateur kids coming through the England boxing setup, and they kind of get overlooked purely because they're not, they don't sell as many tickets perhaps when they turn over. So it's like, yeah, it's in that sense, it's frustrating, but. Again, you've correctly pointed it out, Russ. You kind of have to sort of look at it from the point of view of there's also a business element to this, and people. If you've got somebody who isn't, yeah,
The Gypsy King.
yeah, we'll move on.
Four stone on Usyk, half a foot in height, half a foot in reach. He didn't utilise his size, did he? And this is why Usyk's best in the world for me, because he's doing it against massive giants, isn't he?
Well, I think he is honestly I think he's an all-time great fighter. Personally, I think he could hang in it
of all time. He's got a better resume than Joe Frazier. The lot of them.
He could hang in any era. I think definitely
any era, and Fury can't. All them people that were going on about Fury this, Fury that, master technician, technical guy, he can adapt on the fly and all that. He's been down 9 or 10 times in his career, right? Ford against Wilder for starters. Now, if he's that good and he's been down more times than David Price, why are these YouTubers not saying, "Tyson, you've got a chin like a chandelier"? Why are they not putting it on him?
Well, I mean, I don't understand the argument that he's some sort of defensive genius that keeps getting sort of bandied about. I don't particularly loathe Tyson Fury, really. I think if he has a look at it, he's had it off really in terms of professional boxing. He's
He's swerved everybody.
no, I meant in
And has
terms
he
of
ever fought a mandatory?
no, I meant in terms of like how much money he's made and the belts he's won and stuff.
Yeah.
But in yeah, yeah. But to go back to your original point, I think no, I don't think he's ever had a mandatory defence, has he? And
Then why? Come on.
no, yeah, and I think really his CV's got a hell of a lot of holes in it. You
Holes in
can't,
Swiss cheese.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, his best win for me, I wouldn't even say it's the Boulder victories. I think it's 39-year-old Vlad in Germany, personally. And
40 and 40.
yeah, yeah, he's like he was 68 fights in, wasn't
The
he?
stinker.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't understand though that there was talk of him trying to sort of laud himself up as an all-time great, and when you look at, as you said, his best wins come in the form of beating Wilder twice, and in the first fights I thought he was lucky anyway. I thought he had quite a long count at the end
Yeah.
when he got put down in the 12th, and I
21
also think
seconds.
yeah, it was slow, and then in addition to that, I thought John McDermott beat him.
I did.
Uh,
Colin.
Yeah, he was lucky with Waller.
Gargano.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Ngannou actually did enough for me to have won that fight. So it's a bit of mysticism, really. It's like we're kind of told he's brilliant. So no doubt, I think he's a talented fighter, but I don't think he's as good as he's been sold to us again. Um, and for me, in the fight in question the other night, he looked old to me. He looked like he just he couldn't let his hands go like he used to, and he hasn't got the legs either. He's not as nimble, and I think Usyk had the reading of him. Like he knew what he was doing, and he could he was nullifying as well as countering, and he was scoring. He was outlanding him, and I saw Frank Warren and Fury basically both saying that they felt the cards were unjust. I don't see how that's possible. I thought he was beat fairly conclusively from where I was sat.
Well, did you see Adam Cattrall on Fight Disciples and Talksport? Fury
Yeah,
outlanded in 11 of the 12 rounds, according to CompuBox. So really, he was lucky to get 4 rounds, wasn't he?
yeah. I mean, if you're scoring it on based on punches landed alone, I mean, yeah, I thought he was pretty fairly beat over across the span of both fights, to be honest. So it's again, I mean, he's been down on the deck a number of times, and I mean, he does get up and recover, but as I said, I mean, I think that Wilder fight, he was given a prolonged count. Um, so as to what goes on next, I don't know. But Usyk had every answer to any question Fury was asking on Saturday. So I think Usyk is just a landmark, brilliant, brilliant fighter, and he'd hang in any era, as we both said. I don't know what Usyk's going to do next. I hope he doesn't rematch Daniel Dubois. I'd like to see him retire personally.
Let me just throw you some stats here.
Go
Also
on.
done Joyce in WBSS, Chisora, Bellew. He's done John Coffey, Joshua twice, Fury twice, and now John Coffey's got a ring at end there. And it looked like he couldn't remember his lines, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Frank Warren put him up to that. That's what I was about to say. That would have been awesome.
Bricktop had him do that, didn't you, old Dinted? But also, when you look at it right, European World Olympic gold, WBSS gold, undisputed cruiser, undisputed heavyweight, 23-0, 14 KOs, B-side in every title fight. The referee was shocking. Did you see rabbit punches going on Usyk all night? He didn't do nothing.
Yeah,
He kept telling referee, pointing to the back of his head, he did nothing whatsoever. He reminded me of Froch Ward with Holding. The referee did nothing. He's got 10 wins over champions, 5 undefeated records he's took. He just beat a man 61 pound heavier on the night. Half a foot taller, although it's Tyson's 6'7", he's not 6'9". That's just they have to hype it up, don't they? They're a lot taller, longer reach. He's an all-time great, but do we want to see him in with John Coffey? Because he's already flogged him once, hasn't he?
yeah. I mean, the only thing they're really sort of dining out on there to try and get that rematch over the line is this, spurious low blow. Now, I happen to think it was up to the referee's discretion. I thought it was on the bladder, and he had high trunks, so I thought it was a legitimate low blow, if that makes sense. And Usyk was right to take the time.
But if the medal carry on, he would have carried on, wouldn't he? Of course, he's going to take the break, isn't he?
But yeah, no, I mean, it's like having it's boxing IQ, isn't it? You know, take as long as you need to recover. And then he just stuck it right back on Daniel Dubois and beat him, didn't they? So yeah, I mean, I don't think that needs a rematch. And Daniel Dubois got Joseph Parker to think about, and I don't think that's a gimme, personally.
Jumping in ring going on about fighting him, trying to steal the show, when he's got Joseph Parker training his knackers off to beat him, who's on a good
Yeah,
run.
yeah. I mean, you know, in terms of names, he's beat Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang in his last two fights. Arguably, I think those names sort of glamorise how good those victories are, if you know what I'm saying, because they're both old. And Wilder was shot one, but you can't deny. I think Joseph Parker is looking better under Andy Lee, and I think we said that in the last Zoom call with one another. And I don't think it's any guaranteed win for Daniel Dubois. I think that's going to be a challenging fight. So for me, that's where his priorities should lie at the moment, rather than sort of trying to talk up a potential Usyk rematch, which may never happen because it sounds as though Usyk's taking a bit of a break anyway. I hope he retires because I think he's
I
conquered
do.
everything in amateur and pro boxing, and he's made loads of money as well.
What about Fury's conditioning on the night?
It's such a weird thing, Russ, with
Shorts
how.
to his tits.
Yeah, I mean, like, I mean that's it. I mean, you know, I don't get how a man who's I don't understand how he looks like that. And I'm not body shaming him or anything, but he just like, you know, for heavyweight champion of the world, um, arguably our best exports, but you know, in current era, I guess. You know, he's got all that blancmange going on. I don't really understand it. You could almost
Oh,
slice it up, couldn't
good
you?
conditioners hanging out at back of him. What are they doing? Is he laid in bed all day eating twiglets?
Well, yeah, I mean, surely he should be sort of. It was also kind of how he had his trunk so high up as well to kind of mask it. I didn't really understand that myself. We can all see it.
What were you hiding in that beard?
I don't know what the beard was all about. I mean, was it sort of? I saw something similar when Josh Kelly fought David Avanesian some years ago. He had a beard on him. I don't know what that was all about. Did I think that it's going to sort of like nullify, you know, the strength of punches or
They're
something?
looking for that edge, aren't they? That mental edge. That's what I think. I don't think that bothered Usyk. If anything, it probably went after him even more because every time Usyk got clipped by Fury by a punch, he came back with two or three straight away, didn't he? Every single time he fired back.
Yeah, I thought Fury looked better than the first fight. I thought in the first fight he got bashed about, to be
I
honest.
did.
Yeah, he looked better, but I still don't think you can make a solid case for him winning at all. You know, he got outlanded, and for me, the more effective and more clearer scoring punches came from Usyk. And as you correctly said, whenever Fury sort of landed something, Usyk was quick to counter, and he'd land two or three more, and he'd also close the round out more strongly as well, which sort of left it more impactful in the judges' eyes, and you know it was represented in the scoring. So yeah, I mean, I, I thought Fury came in better shape in the first fight as well. So I don't know what the game plan was, but in terms of who you know is his nutritionist or strength and conditioner, he's obviously fit, but I feel like he could be in a lot better shape and he could be fitter. So I don't know why he comes in looking like that personally. I
His
guess people.
argument is it's my body shape, this and that, but I've seen him in fantastic shape years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Well, but in the earlier parts of his career, and you know, when he was with Peter, um, and was it Huey he was previously with before Peter?
Yeah, Peter's late brother. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He was a lot leaner, wasn't he? And like you know, you could see muscle definition on him and stuff. So I don't really know, to be honest. I guess some of it is a case of I guess when you make that sort of money and you get to the heights that he has in terms of, you know, he's navigated himself through professional boxing to big paydays and massive title fights. I guess you start getting comfortable after a while and the silk pajamas go on, potentially. And maybe you don't train as hard as when, you know, you were hungry and you were coming up. That's the only thing I can kind of maybe liken it to in terms of, you know, what shape he's been coming into fights off in the last couple of years. But I think stylistically, he doesn't have the nimbleness or the legs that sort of carried him through the fights. Um, and maybe the additional mass is possibly to sort of, I don't know, be a bit more solid and imposing. But that didn't bother Usyk, did it? Like, I mean, he was giving away every physical advantage, and he still did the job, not once but twice.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Uh, is Usyk and Fury probably the last great matchup of this era from their age group? Or
yes,
do we need Fury? But they've been knocked about now, haven't they?
yeah, I think even though I thought Usyk was exemplary the other night, I felt like he's looking slightly older now as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can still see the brilliance and the IQ, and I just think, yeah, I mean, I think he's about like, is it 18, 20 months older than Fury?
Yeah.
So those fights will have taken it out of him, I feel, even though just because of the sheer size, and he's not really a natural heavyweight either, to be honest. I mean, he's filled out and he's a proper heavyweight now, and he has been for some time, but like, it's just the fact he's gone undisputed in two weight classes, and he's fought a lot bigger men, and basically put whoopings on everybody. So I think yes. To answer your question, it probably is like the last fabled fight we'll get of this era. But you mentioned Moses Atoma at the beginning of the beginning of the call,
Yeah.
and I think he's legitimate. I do. I think he's probably the next big thing. I think the hype's justified around him.
Yeah. Well, Francis Warren, aka the housewife's favourite, that's his manager.
Yeah. He was saying,
Imagine about that Francis is going to be on this weekend after that knockout in first round. He'll be London, he'll be ordering new Range Rovers and that, won't you? Francis, I
yeah.
hope you're listening, you fat cunt. So,
Yeah.
what do you think to the Cobra out there, fucking strutting about with his camera?
Oh well, Carl's Carl, and he just does his own thing.
Not
I do
happy
like,
about him out there, is he?
yeah. I mean, I guess when you kind of been brought into the tent, and Turkey's invited you in, I think it's kind of, money changes hands potentially, and then your opinions are somewhat more restricted, and perhaps not quite as on the nose as they were before. So, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed Joe Gallagher's punditry. He was there and he covered one of the fights. I think it was Isaac Lowe, Lee McGregor. He spoke about. I think Isaac Lowe needs to rein it in now.
Yeah,
He's
he's been knocked about and he's coming up 31, you know.
yeah. I think he's done all he can. Really, he's a tough guy. To be fair to him, like but yeah, I think what's next? I mean, is he just going to keep propping up Tyson's undercards? And
Got pissed,
I
aren't
don't,
they, him and Tyson now in Morecambe?
yeah, yeah. I think are they related at all?
No, well, it might be, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, they're good friends anyway. But yeah, I think Isaac Lowe. I mean, I don't know where he goes next after losing to McGregor, but he's like you say, he's had a number of difficult fights now, hard fights, and where do you keep going back to the drawing board and trying to build back up again?
I don't know.
Uh,
That's how I look at it. Right? Isaac Lowe. I don't know what he's going to do next, but I don't see him going to job club or doing any courses, do you?
maybe he ends up in coaching or he helps around the gym or something. I don't know. He could still stay in boxing, but I think it's up for him to decide when his ceiling is. But I don't see where he comes back from another defeat. So
No, I don't.
yeah,
He's had a lot of draws, Isaac Lowe, because he's been on Tyson's card, and he's had a lot of favours and that. And he's only really on there because Tyson will have got him on there. A bit like Nazim Ahmed used to get Horsecock on his shows. Bricktop were like, I don't want him on these shows. And Naz were like, well, I'm not fighting then. So they had to put Horsecock on his shows. Do you know what I mean?
well, stable mates when he was with Brendan Ingle, I would imagine. So yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Um,
what do you think about J.O. Petilla against Usyk? Do you think because they're going to keep throwing people at Usyk, young lions, aren't they, and that to try and get him out of there? What do you think to that?
I hope he don't fight again, Russ. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't. I mean, Joe Petilla for me, I think he is actually the nuts. I think he is good, to be honest. I just think Usyk is getting a bit older now, and I wouldn't like him to be. I'd love for him to just, slam his flag. Well, he slammed his flag in the mountain. I'd like him to just walk away. Because I think Opatia is, like you said, he's coming through it all still. And I wouldn't surprise me if he did end up transitioning to heavyweight eventually. Once he's cleaned out cruiserweight, but he's got a few more belts to pick up. So um, yeah, I think that's a dangerous fight for Usyk now. Not that I don't think Usyk couldn't win it. I just think it's one that I wouldn't like to see him take. I think he's done everything. He doesn't need to prove anything else.
Yeah, I do. I mean, he's obviously loaded.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have made fortunes from the Joshua fights.
People
And
around him innit, that are pushing him into more fights. They never want to let him go, do they?
well,
Yeah.
it's about getting as much as you can, not leaving anything on the table, isn't it? But I feel like hopefully his wife tells him enough's enough, and he's happy because he's achieved everything in terms of championships, and I don't see what else he needs to do. I
You
mean,
have to beat everybody twice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he beat Joshua twice, he's beat Fury twice, he beat Bellier, he beat Dubois. He's basically beat everybody in Britain. Like
Appreciate
he,
it. They want to bar next, don't they?
and Chisora as well. We beat him. So yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, as we both said today, I hope he leaves it now, and his team just say, yeah, you've done everything, and they've taken their slice of the cake, obviously.
Okay, we'll leave it on this. We'll finish on this next one then.
Yeah.
Ben and Eubank saying he wants 60%, so it's dead in the water, isn't it? Apparently.
I quite like the fact that Chris Eubank is sticking to his guns on this. Um, just purely because I don't think Conor Benn deserves any sort of favours.
No.
And for me, I saw an IFL TV interview actually between Eddie Hearn and Chris Eubank Jr. It was uploaded the other day, and it was on the subject of what you just mentioned. And I feel it'd just be good to deny Conor Benn a payday, to be honest, because it seems like Eddie's desperate to try and sort of cash him in, and
Yeah.
that's the most money he's going to get for him. I feel, and I don't think if he's pushed towards a world title fight at welterweight, I don't know how that would be possible and how he's still ranked with some of the governing bodies that he is, and the ranking he's got with I think the WBA and the WBC. I think he's been reinstated when he hasn't fought at that weight for over 2 years. So I don't really get how that's possible. And he never fought anybody in Britain either. He's avoided the domestic scene completely. So yeah, they seem to be keen on Matchroom in particular, trying to get this over the line. But if Chris Eubank isn't going to budge, they may have to just sort of succumb to his demands and say, well, yeah, okay, we'll give you 60% because we don't know. I still think, even if Conor Benn's taking a lesser share and he feels like he's been diddled out of something, um, by only getting 40%, it's going to be more money than he earns fighting a Mario Barrios or whatever. So,
Okay. Well, then, last one, 1 minute to go. UK media, when are they going to ask proper questions, or are they always going to want access and look after the mates? Because it's not like football punditry, is it? Boxing punditry.
I think there's a real case of it's sad, you have to watch what you say. And that's no good for us as, boxing fans or consumers, is it? You kind of, whilst I understand it, it's a shame that that's kind of how it's ended up. As I say, no one's really sort of asking or giving people a prod. And I think, you could word it nicely, but you should also ask the questions, that people want an answer to. And I think until it's all under one banner, as in boxing as a whole, and we go back to like a single belt era, and there isn't as many promotional outfits and people sort of dictating as to what questions get asked and what interviews get uploaded and what gets removed. It's going to just be more of the same, Russ, unfortunately. But we can see through it.
We can. Okay, then. Well, listen, Dan. Let's hope you've won the £100 when we had it up at end of the month. You might get a check-in post or a balance transfer. All right, kid.
Okay, that'd be nice.
Thanks for coming on. There's you and Kent mix. James. Have to get Terry on. Oh, you'll not want Terry on.
Yeah, it's popular enough.
Right, well, listen, you take care. Have a great Christmas, you and your family, and thanks for
Same
coming.
to you, mate.
All the best.
Take care. Thanks, Russ.
Bye.